Yo guys, welcome back. I'm just sitting in my car. But yeah, I just did a Uber Eats order. But yeah, I know this is like a very, very random topic. You can laugh at it if you want. But what's the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath? That's like something I never really quite understood. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And of course, I'm neither. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not a sociopath. I'm not a narcissist. None of those things. But I'm just, curious. Like, what would the difference be between a psychopath and a sociopath? Because I know they're both somewhat related to, like antisocial personality disorder. But what's the difference? Because now, if you're a psychopath, of course, it doesn't immediately mean you're a killer or you're like a crazy maniac, like how it's portrayed in like movies, like horror movies, because you can actually be a normal person and still be labeled as a psychopath. And what I mean by that is like, you're not a murderer, you're not a killer, you're not crazy, you're not like, you can actually, believe it or not, be a normal person, but you might have like psychopathic like traits, but that doesn't mean you're crazy or you're bad. There's normal people who live a normal, even successful life, but they can be labeled as like, having like those, psychopathic, traits, or like, I don't know. And they can live their whole life normal without ever hurting anyone, It's really interesting. Same with being a sociopath, but like, what's the actual difference between both of them? That's something I never quite understood, because, and I could be wrong, you can correct me. From my understanding, sociopaths, they might like get like angry, right? Easily or whatever. Hold on a sec. They might get angrier easily, but they don't really think before they do something. So like a sociopath might like, get mad at someone, and then without thinking they might fight them. And then sometimes the sociopath, they just regret it after that. They're like, oh, I regret doing that. But I don't know, because some people say like sociopaths, they don't like feel any emotions. They don't feel bad for other people. But I don't know if that's always the case, because I also read that sociopaths tend to actually have some emotion. They might understand that what they did is wrong. They might not think about it, but then they'll regret it later. I don't know. It's really confusing. I don't really understand. But psychopaths, here's the crazy thing about them, from my understanding, is they're perfectly aware of what they do. That's the crazy part about psychopaths. They understand their actions. They just don't care. They're often like, they know what's good and what's bad, but they'll do something anyways. But psychopaths, they're like very intelligent sometimes. They can plan everything out very easily. They can be really successful people. I don't know about sociopaths. Do they know what's right and wrong? Because from my understanding, they might, but I don't know. They often like, they'll do something bad, but they're not going to think about it. They're just going to do something bad, and then later they might regret it, or they might not. I don't know. Psychopaths, they're actually, from my understanding, again, maybe I'm not entirely correct, but they, they know what they're doing, They actually understand pretty well. But they're just like really smart about it, They're not going to attack someone without thinking. They actually, They can do stuff without even getting caught. I don't know. But that's just from my understanding, but I'm not like... I could be wrong. I might not be 100% correct based on what I just said. But yeah, I don't know. It's just confusing. I never quite understood like the main difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. They have similarities, but they also have differences. But yeah, I don't know. But you guys can just tell me, let me know what you think about it or what the right answer to that is. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. This is just something that's out of curiosity. I've been curious about, but I don't think I've met a psychopath or a sociopath. Maybe I have without knowing it. I don't know, but thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.